is a problem because things are locked down, and it's weird because certain businesses.
20 of Canada's top endurance athletes from across the nation have been invited to the picturesque hamlet of Alton in Caledon, Ontario, just north of Toronto. While the area might be most famous for its world-class golf courses, this year it's also host to the Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championship at Osprey Valley. In a very unique season for professional sports, a very unique triathlon experience. A race for the pros, by the pros. Led by Jackson Landry and Taylor Reid, Canadian triathlon pros, with the support of the entire triathlon community, have come together to make this dream a reality.
For these two athletes to take some time out of their lives to try and put together something for all the pros in Canada is phenomenal, and we can't really thank them enough for actually getting this off the ground.
When I called the Professional Triathletes Organization, it was within a couple days that we had confirmation that they were going to be supporting our race with a $20,000 prize purse. That was just a huge jumping off point for this race, and it really gave us the ammunition we needed to tell our sponsors, to tell the athletes that this race is happening.
I've watched them build this up from nothing, and I was initially kind of pessimistic about this whole thing. I thought, how could we possibly get a race together in really a matter of weeks? And so they poured themselves into the organization of this race and had some help from Barry Shepley, of course. I can't believe how quickly this came together.
The 10 professional women will get things underway with a 3-loop, 1.5-kilometer time trial at the C3 James Dick Quarry. Leaving every 30 seconds, another athlete will head into the water. With $20,000 on the line, some of the sport's biggest names are here from across the country. Long distance specialists and short distance specialists. Former champions and rising stars. Dami Jemanicki, one of Canada's ITU stars, is here. BC's Rachel McBride, a multiple Ironman 70.3 champion, is expected to dominate on the bike. But the story of the day belongs to the swim of Kira Gupta-Baltazar. At just 18 years of age, she's made up the 30-second deficit on the Olympic hopeful Emily Kretz.
16:54 for Kira Gupta-Baltazar.
Kretz with a great swim of her own as she finishes off in second place. After the 1,500-meter swim, Kira Gupta-Baltazar with an incredible 16:55 to take the swim preem. 31 seconds back, Emily Kretz, followed by Elise Balger, Dami Jemanicki, and Kristen Marchand in fifth. We told you this race was unique. How about a 10-minute drive to get to the location of the final two disciplines? With COVID safety measures on everyone's mind, having a contained closed course was deemed to be the best option. Kira Gupta-Baltazar, on the strength of her swim, was first to get underway. The 18-year-old, just starting University of San Francisco on scholarship, had an opportunity for her first ever Olympic distance race with some of the top women in the sport. Next up would be Emily Kretz, 31 seconds down. The Olympian certainly has experience at this distance, and she had a fantastic swim to get her day started onto the bike course. It would be Elise Balger next up to get started on the course. Canada's Commonwealth Games athlete Dami Jemanicki still waiting. A minute 42 gap, she has to wait, and look at the ride of this woman.
Probably was not expected for a lot of people, like the 18-year-olds in the race, but I knew the girls were coming, obviously. I've been training on that course a lot, so I knew where the wind was and where my legs were going to start hurting on the hills. But it was definitely just surreal being in front of an Olympian and being on the same course as all these amazing athletes.
Well, it has been a fantastic ride for the junior, but there you can see Emily Kretz at the bottom of the screen going after Kira Gupta-Baltazar, 30 minutes in the lead. And now Emily Kretz, the Olympian, takes over the front end of this race. And Kira Gupta-Baltazar, I think, has got as much experience as she's going to get out of her first ever Olympic distance triathlon. Kretz in the lead, but the person everyone's worried about is BC's Rach McBride. We know that the multiple Ironman 70.3 champion is considered one of the sport's best on the bike.
I've won crit races before. I know how to corner well. I have probably better bike handling skills than a lot of my fellow racers. And I had ridden the course for an hour the day before and really worked on the corners. I mean, you know, we know how to ride hard, but it's that technical side of things. And so when you have over 120 corners in the race, you know that those corners are actually going to play a big role in how well you're going to do.
Nobody's riding corners any better than that athlete. And as Rach McBride starts to go by Kristen Marchand now sitting back in 5th spot. It is only pavement being torn up by that athlete, and it's next on the line, Dami Jimennicki, as she is getting spit out the backside. As Rach McBride continues to tear up the field, it is Emily Kretz, knowing that McBride is coming and her lead is starting to shrink.
Rachel is a very, very good rider, so I knew she would be coming from the back, and I knew I wanted to put time on the fast runners. I was focusing on what was ahead, but still thinking about what was behind me and what was coming for me.
I think everyone expected this to eventually happen. Rach McBride has now taken over the lead, and what an incredible, powerful pedal stroke, as she's been doing 2 minutes per lap. Nobody else within 5 or 6 seconds on that lap course. It is right there, Kristen Marchand, who right now is riding second fastest on this course. She has been a 2-time world amateur champion, dealing with some injuries over the last couple of years, but some very big bike weeks coming in. Over 200-kilometer bike rides has prepared her for this bike course. And right there you can see Tamara Jewett now just coming up on the junior. Tamara riding right past Kira Gupta-Baltazar, so the woman who led out of the water now, watching some of the more experienced athletes going by her on this bike course. And that's Dami Jimennicki. She's gone to the Commonwealth Games, going by Elise Balger right there. Those women have battled back and forth. And right there you can see Tamara Jewett has gone from 6th to 5th. And there is Dami Jimennicki just up the road, the woman who's well renowned for her running abilities. She's having an incredible bike ride on this very technical bike course. No matter, however, how fast Jewett's going, they are all losing time right now as Rach McBride continues to power away from the rest of the women on this field.
At some point, the announcer said, hey, I think Rach is going to lap the entire field. And to me, that was a big motivator. I was like, all right, I am lapping the entire field. And so that was probably one of the more exciting moments of when I finally nailed that last person to lap the entire field. That was a really shining moment for me.
What an incredible bike ride. Rach McBride has outridden everyone on this course, lapped every single athlete. But there is 10 kilometers separating Rach McBride from a title, and some phenomenal runners still coming up from behind. Big smile. We'll see if she's still smiling like that in 10K.
Well, I know there are Olympians and future Olympians behind me, and past professional runners. And so I am usually running scared in a lot of races, and this one in particular, because it's so short, I knew that I had some really speedy folks coming up from behind.
Next is Kristen Marchand. What a phenomenal bike ride. She has pushed herself all the way up into 2nd place, ahead of the Olympian Emily Kretz, who's not that far behind. But after 2.5 years of injuries and missing racing, Marchand has to be incredibly pleased with that race so far. This 10K run might be a little tough, however. She's not had many kilometers of running on those legs. As Emily Kretz right there just coming off the bike, and we know that Kretz has set a 5K PB in the last few weeks. She had hoped to be at the Tokyo Olympic Games this last few months, but she'll have 11 more months to prepare, and in fact that might be to her benefit. As Emily Kretz heads off, the hunter on the bike is now being hunted on the run. And just on the side right there, that was Lisa Bentley, PTO's 11-time Ironman champion. Emily Kretz now has moved herself through Marchand into 2nd place, and look at the turnover. Coming off of a great summer of racing and training with Alex Serrano, her coach. She is trying to move herself to the lead, as right now Marchand is just trying to secure herself, I think, a top 3 or 4, and that would be a record finish for that woman. Everyone's got their eyes right now on this woman. It's Tamara Jewett. She has the fastest 10K running times of any of the women in this field. She's 3.5 minutes down. But when you have been a silver medalist at the Canadian 5,000 meter championships, a university champion over cross country and over 3,000, you know you have the abilities. But she's going to have to use every ounce of that talent on this 8-lap run course to go after McBride and Emily Kretz as she goes out of the transition zone right now, 3.5 minutes down. Rach McBride, 1 hour 22:57 off the bike. The top 4 women all within less than 2 minutes of each other as they all are chasing the athlete from BC. Rach McBride continuing to lead on the front end of this race course, but there is some very fast women coming up from behind her, the very tough section of this run. Kristen Marchand right there sitting in 3rd place as she continues to work her way up the hill in the much faster turnover pace right there of Tamara Jewett, the 30-year-old lawyer from Tory LLPC. And as she comes by Kristen Marchand, those 2 women would have raced against each other at the university level years ago.
Good job, girl.
You hear good job, girl, and you too, but there's no time for Tamara Jewett as she continues up the road.
Just a mix of tuning into my body and focusing on the person ahead. And trying to not rush too much to reel them in and spend my energy really inefficiently, but push the bounds of what I know my body can do while using the motivation of seeing someone ahead, whoever it is.
Canada's next running superstar in triathlon right there, Tamara Jewett, has just run past Emily Kretz. You have to think back, way back to Carol Montgomery, to one of those great runners off the bike, as Kretz trying right now to hold on to 3rd place, and they are all chasing that athlete right there, Rach McBride. She had a 3-minute 48-second gap on Tamara Jewett when they came off the bike, and Tamara has been putting multiple seconds in every kilometer into that athlete right now. Look at the phenomenal turnover. It's Kretz right now sitting in 3rd place. I think the 3 athletes who we know are going to be on the podium have all been on our screen, but right now it's just a matter of the difference in color. And Tamara Jewett going after right there Rach McBride. You can see the efficiency as Rach McBride trying desperately. She's been working at that longer half Ironman distance. And you can see Tamara Jewett. She's been a 1,500 meter runner, a 3,000 meter runner. She was top 10 at the Fishu Games for 3 kilometers, and she is using every bit of that ability. Right now, the improved running capacity of Emily Kretz trying to hold on. She's trying to go after Rach McBride. The battle between these 3 women right now for the different colors and paychecks on the podium at the end of the day as they start to make their way into the final lap of this Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championships. Well, the move from 3rd into 2nd right there. Kretz has now gone through, and she was having a solid swim, a great bike, and she has gone after that bike specialist. You can hear the bell right there. They're into that final lap as Emily Kretz wants to secure herself that silver medal, but it is gold. It is absolute gold right there for the victor here as Tamara Jewett has the day's fastest run. You can see right there Emily Kretz holding on for the silver medal performance here, and it will be an absolutely fantastic performance for our 42-year-old. As you can see right there, Rach McBride making her way to the finishing line of the Lululemon Canadian Professional Triathlon here at Osprey Valley. The fatigue on the face right there as Rach McBride is happy to have made the podium in a world-class field of athletes. Canada's new superstar, Tamara Jewett, with her victory here at the Lululemon Pro Tri Championship at Osprey Valley. Kretz, McBride on the podium, and great performances by Pamela Ann St. Pierre and Kristen Marchand from Caledon. Tamara Jewett, your champion, Emily Kretz, silver, and finishing out the podium, Rach McBride from British Columbia. The Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championship is brought to you by Lululemon, Toronto at Osprey Valley, and the Professional Triathletes Organization. It's the men's chance now as Charles Paquette leads out as the first athlete in this 3-lap 1,500-meter swim. The Quebec athlete, one of the best resumes of the field, and it'll be Jeremy Bien coming up second, 30 seconds down. Remember, he's the national champion for 2019, and there goes Tristan Jones, the only teenager in the field, one of the superstars and up-and-coming, and the 40-year-old who they're all cheering for is Brent McMahon from Victoria, British Columbia. two-time Olympian, Pan American medalist, and a multiple Ironman champion. That's Cody Beals as he heads in, the two-time Mount Tremblant champion and course record holder. Jeremy Briand right there in second place as he comes around the swim buoy. They'll have to go out of the water on each and every lap, and that is a time that the heart rate really starts to climb. You can see athletes going right there around the PTO banners as they go back into the water. Fantastic turnover here. It is a total of 3 laps. Taylor Reed, who's got home course advantage. He's been training on this course since he was 13 years of age. And Charles Paquette having an absolutely phenomenal swim. First into the water, and he is going to have a time of just over 15 minutes and 57 seconds. Nobody's going to come close to that man today. Phenomenal swim.
Well, yeah, it was good today. It was hard. It's hard to get off the water every time, and yeah, last lap was harder than I thought.
As Jeremy Briand right now is trying to get out of that wetsuit, Tristan Jones is coming up from behind him. Briand's going to have a top 5 finish. Tristan Jones right there, the junior, having his opportunity to race here at home is Tristan Jones, the man who won the Super League a year ago, coming out in third. The veteran Brent McMahon out of the water, 16:49, going to be the second fastest time of the day.
Oh, you know, it's just a blast, you know, to be able to get out there and just punish yourself and chase other guys. That's what we live for as athletes, and to be able to do it in this year with all the things going on is just phenomenal.
17:29 for Taylor Reed as he crosses the line right there in 7th place.
And yeah, the real game begins when we hit the bike and the run.
Charles Paquette with a phenomenal swim of 15:57. Brent McMahon sitting in second. Tristan Jones, the junior, in third, and down in 5th place, 1:19 down, Jeremy Briand. Time for the men to race on this very unique bike course. They're waiting in the lineup. You have to go in the order you were behind the lead swimmer, and that means they'll all be waiting for Charles Paquette to take off first, all the way down to Jason Pohl. Every athlete, the deficit out of the water is what they'll have to wait, and it'll be 52 seconds after Charles Paquette goes before Brent McMahon gets to get on that bike course. So Paquette will be the better part of 1 full lap ahead of all of these men. That was the quality of the swim that Charles Paquette put in earlier today. Tristan Jones, the junior, will be third to take off onto the bike. And that's Jason Pohl, a long way from home, racing in Caledon, the Calgary man. That man even further away from Victoria, British Columbia. As 40-year-old Brent McMahon will head off in second place, and look at that very aero position he has on that bike. There'll be a differential between road bikes and Ironman bikes that some of these athletes are more consistently using in their training. Up and out of the saddle, very aggressive early on, Charles Paquette. He's been working on that Olympic distance racing, and look at the cornering of Brent McMahon, who's been doing this for more years than that man has been racing. That's Tristan Jones, just 19 years of age. We're getting ready now for Jeremy Briand, the national champion, just to head off. Liam Donnelly, the under-23 athlete, and Taylor Reed has won a couple 70.3 races, so we know that 40 kilometers on this bike ride he certainly has under capacity. Cody Beals will be heading off shortly, as well as Jackson Landry. So the very strong men on the bike course will be heading off right there in 7th, 8th, and 9th place. Jackson Landry, already he is passing a number of the men on the course. Landry pushing some big gears as he comes around the corner. Jones being passed right there, and you can see Landry on the inside already making his move.
I was committed to time trialing even the whole race. I really was focused on even effort. Don't crush the hill too hard, take the turns fast, pick guys off one by one, and don't get discouraged when people go pretty fast early on, because I know in a 40K time trial, there's gonna be guys who haven't gone that far before and they don't know what the limit is.
Landry and McMahon right now riding faster than anyone else on this bike course.
I didn't know Jackson was moving up as quickly as he was, so I was more just focused on like hitting my numbers and hopefully chipping away at Charles. But initially I was like, I'm losing time, and you know, I had to kind of rely on you know, my years of experience and go, okay, I'm good through the whole distance. I know I'm strong enough all the way through. These young guys.
Right now you can see Jackson Landry, who left in 9th and 3rd place, and he's got 2nd in his sights. Just around that tight corner, that's Brent McMahon to the right looking over his shoulder. They've got Charles Paquette up the road, but I think the two big bikers in this field right now going past each other late in this 40-kilometer ride.
As I pass him, I'm thinking, I've got to put a surge in here and get some time, because if I just go by him and kind of ease off, he's going to stay right with me, and I don't want to get into a run battle with Brent McMahon.
I had to make the quick decision of, okay, do I try and go right outside my limit to see if I can stay with him, or do I want to see if he's just testing me and he's putting in a surge and he's going to slow up? So I did play a little bit of patience there, and he was just riding fast.
Charles Paquette continues to ride fast, but as we saw on the women's side with Kira Gupta-Baltazar, who led out of the water, Paquette eventually has given up the lead, and the very smooth, consistent riding by Jackson Landry, the man who's done so much work to bring this race to Canada, now has taken over the lead. Charles Paquette trying to keep him in his sights, sitting in 2nd. Is Landry now trying to force the pace in the late stages of this 40-kilometer ride, and there goes Brent McMahon right there past Charles Paquette into 2nd place. And McMahon knows that he does not want to give up much time to Jackson Landry. Landry feels like he needs to get a big lead out on this course because McMahon was a 2-time Olympian, and we know that he's able to run very fast for 10 kilometers. There you can see how hilly this course is. It is very challenging. Coming down, they're well over 70 kilometers an hour in the corner. He was 7th place out of the water, but a very efficient bike ride for Taylor Reed as he's now past Paquette into 3rd place as he takes in the calories, recognizing it is going to be a very tough 10-kilometer run. Brian in 4th place. There's Charles Paquette now falling back into 5th. And here comes Cody Beals right now, currently sitting in 6th place.
Like a gap on the other guys, but at the same time I think it almost killed me because I was trying to stay in front of them, and I think I went too hard like for the first 20K, and then after like 25 or 30K I couldn't, my legs were done.
No question that Jackson Landry is going to have the bike preem today. Out of the water in 9th, first off the bike, and a 10-kilometer run with some phenomenal athletes coming up from behind. How many hours did this man put into this race? Dreaming about it, and right now he's leading the Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championship at Osprey Valley. Off he goes. It's going to be a gap of almost a minute plus. There it is, Brent McMahon off the bike. He came out of the water in 2nd place. He's going to go onto the run in 2nd place, and look at that smooth transition. Incredible. You know that guy's had some Olympic distance training in his background. He's made up some time already on Jackson Landry just in the transition zone, and up the hill goes Brent McMahon to the start of his 8-lap 10-kilometer run. Let's see who has the run legs now in this 10-kilometer run, as Jackson Landry had a 35-second gap on McMahon as they have a very tough, hilly 10-kilometer run ahead of them. Taylor Reed out of the transition zone in 3rd place. What an incredible bike. He, along with Jackson Landry, have done so much work to bring this race to Caledon. Here at the Lululemon Canadian Professional Triathlon Championship at Osprey Valley. Jackson Landry, 1 hour 13 minutes, 35 seconds down Brent McMahon. 123 down to Taylor Reed, and both Cody Beals along with Charles Paquette in the top 5. An absolutely lethal bike split for Jackson Landry, and right now he is actually putting time into Brent McMahon. He said that he was concerned about the 2-time Olympian, but he is having a phenomenal run as the 40-year-old. 25 years of racing on the international circuit. How many times has he gone to the well? Can he do it one more time as Brent McMahon looks up the street and sees Jackson Landry, but the race for 3rd, Taylor Reed, Charles Paquette. There's 25-year-old Jeremy Briand, the 3 of them onto the bell lap coming past. It's just 1.25 kilometers to the finishing line, and right there, Taylor Reed's trying to figure out if he's on the same lap. I can tell you he is. What a final lap we're going to have between these 3 men.
So I looked over my shoulder at one point and just my heart dropped because I saw the guys coming. I wasn't sure if I'd actually lapped Jeremy. So I was like, is he a lap ahead of me or is he on the same lap? So I was like doing a little bit of math in my mind as he was coming up beside me, but I knew I was like, this is a race. So if someone goes by you and you're not sure, you gotta go with them.
Well, Taylor Reed trying to find one more gear, but Jeremy Briand right now running faster than anyone on the course as the battle for third looks like it might just about be over. Reed digging deep, Jeremy Briand pulling away in the late stages of this 10-kilometer run. What a 12-month it has been for Jackson Landry. 12 months ago in the hospital in France after a massive crash at the World 70.3 Championships. 5 weeks ago, we didn't even know whether there would be a race here. He, along with Taylor Reed, put their energy together. And today, he is the 2020 Lululemon Canadian Professional Triathlon Champion at Osprey Valley.
I was in the 70.3 World Championships almost a year ago to the day. It was September 9th last year. And I crashed and broke my shoulder in about 12 places. So that was a pretty grueling process, especially for the first few weeks, and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to race again, so it was pretty special.
And Brent McMahon comes in across the line with a silver medal performance, continuing to show that he is one of the class athletes in all of Canada. Jeremy Briand using that incredible run capacity to take the bronze medal today and also claiming the run preem here in Caledon. Jackson Landry claiming victory today with 1 hour 47:26. The veteran McMahon just a minute 3 seconds back, and the Canadian champion Jeremy Briand getting on the podium with the day's fastest run. You can't see the smiles on their face, but there are smiles all around this country as the chance to watch 20 of Canada's best triathletes in a year that they thought nobody would race. On behalf of the entire organization, I'm Barry Shepley saying thanks for tuning in to the Lululemon Canadian Pro Triathlon Championships at Osprey Valley.
Minute to go now. This will be historic, our first wave of athletes. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. It is official. Old School is on.
All these individuals have been training for the last 7 months thinking they're never going to race in 2020. And C3 and the gang put together Old School Triathlon. Little small waves, 6, 7 people. Sometimes it's just your own family, socially distanced. You get to swim in this absolutely fantastic and healthy James Stick quarry. And then from here, you head over onto the bike and run course. It's all about small groups, having fun, old school. You keep track of the time yourself. We do also double time it, but this is old school. Want to wear a wetsuit? Wear one. Don't want to wear a wetsuit? Don't have to. Want to go without a singlet all day long? You can do that too, but you got to have a good helmet, a working bike, and a positive attitude. We've got sprint, Olympic, as well as long course, and you can do it as an aqua bike, as a duathlon or a triathlon. It goes from today all the way through to the middle of September. You get some of the best pros in the world planning to race. People like Jackson Landry, Taylor Reed, Kirsten Marchand, just to name a few of those athletes. The best juniors are going to be racing here. You've got first timers, you've got it all, and it's old school. It may be the only place you're racing triathlon in Canada this year. Heading now from the water over to our transition zone. We got 2 different race courses depending on the week, but today's course is going to be over on what's called the escarpment. Fantastic pavement, doing some vertical climbing here in Caledon, and a beautiful run on our rail trail. So it's keeping everything kind of old school in the format. We're using the beautiful Caledon rail trail. It's absolutely spectacular. Tree lined. If you have never been up here, it's a good place to run. Nice soft gravel, the old kind of railroad that's now got that flat section. The entire run for the escarpment course is going to be on the rail trail. Transition right here, and we even have ability for you just to come right off the bike. You don't have to wait longer than a couple of minutes, but you have up to 10 minutes to wait. So old school format, it's swim, bike, run with a little bit of fun in between. Right here at the rail trail, okay? You're going north on up what's called Heart Lake Road. You're going to hit the Grange, there'll be an arrow through it. You're going to hit Escarpment Road, there's an arrow through it. And halfway up, before you get to Charleston Side Road, you're going to see a 180-degree turn with a sign that says Sprint and Olympic, turn back. So now you're coming back downhill. You're going to come through Escarpment, and when you get to Grange, there's going to be an arrow pointing you left. It's the only left in the entire course. You go 1 concession over to Horseshoe. You're going to make a right-hand turn down to Old Baseline, right-hand turn up to Heart Lake, right back to where we're at. That's 1 loop. It's getting hot. Well, we got just about everything happening here. It's the major triathlon transition zone, and maybe of all of Canada this weekend. The bike and run start right here at the rail trail. If you kind of take a look down here, this is the hub of where all the activity, the energy's over here, the music's here. They finish their bike. It's 1, 2, or 3 laps, depending on whether they're in long course. Long course will be 3. We got today people doing the sprint and the Olympic. A little place to kind of relieve yourself right here as you go by the famous Porta-John. And then you can see this world-class famous transition zone. The bikes are here. Some guys are already out onto the run, others still coming off the bikes. Beautifully shaded transition area. Get the shoes on, get a few calories in, and you come back here twice or 3 times depending on the race that you're in. But it's all old school, little on your watch, a little bit with this amazing woman here, Elizabeth. This is actually better than Mark Roy and chip timing. This woman is so accurate, you don't need a chip. Old school, Elizabeth's going to get you results.
Any tips for people riding the bike course, Hans?
Yeah, push the pedal down. So it's hilly. It's a hilly bike course. Relax on the downhill and push it on the uphill. That's all I can say.
Lots of people are wondering, like, how do you do this? We've got literally waves of just 5 or 6. It's your family members, it's your friends. We got some 13-year-olds out here today. All you got to do is go to the website, www.c3online.ca. All the details for the next 12 weeks of racing, sprint, Olympic, long course. One of our courses in a completely closed subdivision. You don't even have to worry at all about getting run over by any cars. Here you can kind of see our guys are coming back on the run right now. They still got 1 more lap to go. And that's a 13-year-old running like a machine out there on that run course. Awesome work, Jeff. Great work, girl. What a runner. What a runner.
How was it for you?
Hot. Really, really hot.
Any advice for people racing?
More water.
Not only is this old school historic for triathlon, the lease in a jersey in July and they haven't lost out of the playoffs, historic.
I'm just celebrating the Stanley Cup, sort of in a temporal, social distancing kind of way. I'm just getting ahead of the game. Goalie stuff.
Feeling old school?
I'm feeling just old.
First female final finish of the day. You get your run split at? Just confer with Elizabeth.
How was the race experience?
Wonderful. They did a great job organizing everything, and it was fun, as always.
A year ago, this lady was in a hospital bed, and here she is a year later doing the old school triathlon.
Words of advice for people racing?
Just go out and enjoy and cheer everyone else on.
It has been a long time coming, 25 years for C3, and I can't tell you how excited I am. My name is Barry Shuckley, and the chairman, Gary Black here. We're going to take the next kind of 7 or 8 minutes to get you organized with housekeeping and then into what is going to be a really busy night. Gary, what a wild year to be the chairman of C3 in a COVID summer. Just talk about your impressions. You've been involved with this club for a very long time.
Well, we got together and chatted a little bit in the early part of the year and about what we wanted to accomplish, and a lot all night went out the window pretty quick. And it's been a long time for the club. There was a huge base of things we have going, and just so happy that we were able to put together what we could this year. Very proud of what the group was able to accomplish through just mostly positive attitude.
Well, think about it. So Roy Till is out there. 1995, we get this thing started as we start going down the pathway. Roy Till, Leith Drury, Martin Ridlow, Stuart Dorland, who's out in Vancouver. Some of the names, Martin Ridlow up in Collingwood, these are the people that got us started in 1995. It was a Hamilton-based organization. We kind of get going. And then we moved to Mississauga. And that's when the YMCA in Mississauga, part of our history, as we start taking a look. And Debbie Day and Judy O'Malley and the Slattery family all involved. And then it was kind of like the crazy time because now the club gets taken over by what I call the eligible young people. So Martin Ridlow and Steve Carlson and Paul Clark and Robin McGillip, Linnea, all living at Young and Eligible. So downtown Toronto. So the club was a Toronto-based club for those couple of years and a lot of extra festivities happening. We put on some duathlons and fun things out at Max Ward Park. That's where we start to meet people like Bob Nucky comes into our life at that time. And then all those guys start to get married, start moving away, and the club moves out to Caledon. So the next 2 decades of the club really are out in Caledon where I'm at right now. We're just in the middle of Caledon, about 25 minutes for those of you tuning in. And we have people here you're going to meet tonight from Mexico, from Grenada, from Trinidad, from the UK, all across the country. And we're going to be keeping this stuff going really, really quickly. But just to kind of keep the history lesson going here, next thing you know, we're in Caledon, and then people like Judy Riseborough and Kathy Wilson start to take our club. Stuart Barkley starts our Kids of Steel race. And how many years was Stuart Barkley the man making that role?
112, I think.
Yeah, well, it was 20 years straight. So it felt like it probably 112 if you're Stuart Barkley. He would be up literally at 4 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the transition zone while many of you are sleeping. Lots of you got started. Hans Porton got his first ever race at Kids of Steel. People like Andrew Loger got started. Andrew York got started. Yeah. Just the place that we're going. So we now move into people like Arden Jackson. That great logo that you see has come from her. Trent Dilkey gets involved into the club at that point. Scott Skimming. And then our chairman, starts to come in. People that really, Gary Hutchinson, Larry Karasek, helping us raise funds. The high performance team now starts to rise. And that's when you start seeing people like Andre Paul, Kyle Jones, who's checking out tonight, our Olympian, Simon Whitfield had come through his era, people like Robin McGillip and those guys. Were you ever over on the Bolton camp, Gary?
I was, yes. I remember spinning in that hallway.
So for those who don't know, we had a camp for about 7 years, just north of Bolton by a couple of kilometers. And that's where people who we're going to talk tonight, like Jason Gooding lived there. and James Loring and Jeremy Eves and Claire Eves. So these are names that were critical. And as we move further, Dave Mitchell starts to become our chairman. Dave Weir, Philip Adisette, our chairman Lee Winfield was into there, Glenn Gunderman, and of course, yourself now, Gary. When the arm twisting comes, do you stop answering the phone calls, or do you say, it's my turn to volunteer?
Oh, no, it's the beautiful thing about this club, I think, is that through each one of these phases that we've had as we go along, there have been a core group of people that have stepped up to do what needs to be done. And it's not a huge number of people. We'd always love more people to get involved. But, it's always with a can-do attitude, and let's figure out how to make it happen.
Over 1,000 people now are alumni of our organization in 25 years. Some have been there since day one. People like Karen Shupley and Sandra Bowden, who's been on and off over the years. People like Gord Brocky, who've come to every one of our banquets over all of those seasons. And others have come and gone. So Karen and Terry Bergen, who are out in Kelowna, came in the middle years, did Ironman with us, now living and loving the lifestyle of living out in Kelowna. So we hope that at some point you realize if you came in the early years, if you came in the middle years, you were very important to us.
Absolutely.
Our great sponsors, and they've been here with us for many, many years. So I know Steve Benson and his daughter is tuning in tonight. Kim Nelson's down with a little bit of flu. She was out 20K this morning for a long run. So good on Kim, our multiple Ironman athlete, one of our great sponsors from Royal. Philip Adisette from Kinetico, Rick Arthur and the gang from RA Tech. James Dick, what would we have done without that quarry, particularly this summer?
It was a godsend. It was a perfect place for us to be able to spread out and increase our activities, which is incredible.
In COVID, you never would have imagined it was our busiest summer ever. More people did an event, trained with us in some capacity, often on the beach down at the quarry, but we certainly had it. Carlos came in and the Nouveau Iron team, and we have that race in just 2 weeks, and we'll talk at the very end before that. Philippe and the team from Vanilla, Prepaid, and Incom. So these are names that might have come later, may have come in your era. We had our Olympians, Whitfield, York, Kyle Jones, and future Olympians, we hope. Today was the provincial track and field champs. I literally got in about an hour ago from the pouring rain here. Big storm going off, so if we lose some of our power, there's literally 90-kilometer winds right now in Caledon. Kira Gupta Baltazar won the provincial cross-country champions as a runner in a run-only event. She's a triathlete, and Tristan Jones won the men's side. So, lots of fantastic names that have come over those years. Lionel Sanders got his start with us. We could go on. But what we do want to do, as we're getting ready here to move into Karen's start-off video, is to say thank you for joining the night. Thank you for being a very big part of 25 years. If things go well tonight, it's because John Vadika and his daughter, Robin, and son, who are doing all the technology, they get all the brilliance. And if something goes wrong, Gary Black, Gary Black, as our chairman, would love to do that. So whether you were with us for one season, whether you raced with us at our kids' steel races, whether you're the parent of one of those athletes, I can't believe it's been 25 years, but it has, and we've got a lot of stuff for the night. We're going to induct Sean Bechtel into the Hall of Fame. We've got some great videos. Marketa's COVID documentary of following athletes in COVID is here tonight. We're going to have the great John and Judy Collins, and we had to cut down their interview down to a much smaller piece just because we wanted to keep the night flowing along. So there are a lot of things that are out there. But I want to make sure that John is ready. We are about, I think, to go off to Karen's video. And not only is my wife a spectacular person, many of you know her. I was so proud of her, how she's handled the last year and a half dealing with cancer, no complaints. In June, on the day of her 1-year anniversary of her cancer surgery, she ran a 10K, set a new family record. Beating me wasn't that hard, but it still held as a family record. And she took this entire summer to capture some footage. And we hope that you'll enjoy the first 3 minutes. And this is a year in the life of C3 for 2020.
When the tears are rolling down like a river to the ocean, and there's no one else around, you won't question my devotion. Everybody needs somebody, and you got me. You know
heart could use a break, and it's too broken to reopen. I'll be patient, I will wait until you're ready to be open. Everybody needs somebody, and you got me. You know that I know that you know that I'll be there for the highs and lows.
And to Trudy, that we.
When the tears are rolling down like a river to the ocean, and there's no one else around, you won't question my devotion. Everybody needs somebody, and you got me. You know that I know that you know that I'll be there for the highs and lows. Give you mine if your heart gets broke. By your side when you're all alone, I will be there. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. 2 a.m. I'ma pick you up. I will be there. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. Whoa, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. Yeah.
When your heart could use a break, and it's too broken to reopen. I'll be patient, I will wait until you're ready to be open. Everybody needs somebody, and you got me. You know that I know that you know that I'll be there for the highs and lows. Give you mine if your heart gets broke. By your side when you're all alone, I will be there. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. 2 a.m. I'ma pick you up. I will be there. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. Whoa, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you.
I'll be there for the highs and lows. Give you mine when your heart gets broke. By your side when you're all alone, I will be there. When you're down on your luck, give your all but it's not enough. Take my hand and I'll pick you up. I will be there.
I will be there. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. Whoa, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you.
I'll be there for you.
3. That's it. Come on. Oh, Susan.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Way to go, Patricia. 26, 27,
Unbelievable.
29, 30.
Wow, Patricia, you're a star.
She is not just a beautiful woman. She is my wife. I'm such a lucky guy. Thank you, Karen Shepley, for such a lovely put together. Every year she spends a whole year getting video footage and then bugging all of you for your favorite pictures. So we hope that we got you in there somehow. We're going to keep flying through this night, but some of these are little quick Zoom calls. And joining us right now, she was in Canada for 11 years. We met her in Sweden about 11 or 12 years ago. She fell in love with our country and even a couple of our men. And I think Barry Black brought you over. So Trudy Dixon and mom Janet Bannister in the UK. How's life right now? It's late at night. You guys are in your jammies. I think C3 top and jammies on the bottom.
Yeah, I got business on the top and I got a party on the bottom. Don't worry. Because it's nearly midnight here.
Yes.
So tell us some memories, Trudy, of Canada and C3? You spent 11 years living here. You left your home country to come to Caledon, lived and was a part of Kids of Steel races, of trainings, of banquets. This is one of the first banquets we won't have you at directly in the last 10 or 11 years.
Oh gosh, memories. Kids of Steel was definitely the biggest. That's what brought me over. I mean, I think we were there 3 years before I even moved to Canada. We came over, and that was our holiday every single year, was to come and volunteer with Kids of Steel and do the party bags and everything else with Stuart Barkley and Judy and Kathy and everybody else, all the early people, and it just got bigger and bigger, and that's one of my most.
Janet, you've come over many times to volunteer. We've had no volunteer ever travel further to spend a day standing helping the kids. What was so important about coming? There you go. There's the picture. But what was so important about coming each year?
I just enjoyed it, and just seeing the kids' faces. It was amazing because at the time we didn't have anything like that over here, and I just loved coming over to see the kids' faces. It was brilliant.
Well, we hope that both of you guys will keep us in your hearts. Watch the rest of the show. Know that both of you have left a big impact on our club over the last 25 years. And we thank you so much for both of you checking in. We're going to pop over now from the UK, where it's quite late at night.
Miss you guys.
To our favorite island man, Jason Gooding in Trinidad. Jason, can you hear us? Yeah, I know the kids are running around the background, but can you hear us in Trinidad?
Yes, I can. How are you good? Hi, everyone.
So you spent many years in Canada, and talk about the family that took care of you and some of the athletes you trained with in your era when you were living in Canada with us.
Well, when I first moved over to Bolton, we were still in Bolton, living at the Montessori school. I believe I roomed with James, Claire, Jeremy, Robin, Monica came in after, and Nissim, and it was really good, really interesting time in my life. Just moving from training on my own back in Trinidad to actually being with the team, and good coach, good camaraderie, good everything. I remember many times going in Monica's car to swimming at 4:30 in the morning, and a heater wouldn't work. And we'd get to Mayfield, and by that time, the car just started getting warm. So we'd all be in the car, just freezing all the way to the pool.
So make us all feel bad, because where were you today, and what was the temperature?
It was really cold. It was horrible. Not a good day. But
yeah,
I know that's what you want me to say. But I was actually at the beach, so. When Barry told me, we have to be back here at 6:45, I came back, I rushed over. I'm still in my swim trunks. And it was a little bit chilly today. It was about 34 Celsius.
Well, we all hate you, my friend. And I know that you're going to bring your two beautiful daughters and your lovely wife to Canada sometime soon. And we would love to see you, maybe even a Kids of Steel race, get your two youngsters indoctrinated into our program.
It's definitely on the cards to come at some point.
Awesome, Jace. We'll let you go, as we're going to continue on with the night, but we can't thank you enough for all that you've done for our club. I know that Judy Riseborough and Kathy Wilson and Stephanie Riseborough and the gang will be lovely to see you over here when you can make it in person with your family.
Thanks very much. And it was thank you for all of your support and everyone that supported me. You didn't have to, but I appreciate everything that you've done, and it really has helped me move forward and stepped up my life. And
you've gone to the Commonwealth Games, you've been to World Championships, and the last decade you've been the president of the International Federation from Trinidad. So you have gone on to a big leadership role for sure.
Yes, thanks very much. Thanks for all your support.
In the backdrop, she wants daddy for bedtime, so we're going to let you go.
I definitely have to go do my my daddy duties now.
Awesome.
All the best to everyone.
From Trinidad, just checking in. We're going to move into our keynote of the night, and let me tell you the most amazing thing that I got to learn about Judy and John Collins. They are the people who started the Hawaii Ironman. If you've done a triathlon, if you're a junior, if you've done a half Ironman, if you did the Ironman, it all goes back to this particular family, this husband and wife. I spent an hour and 20 minutes with them. You'll eventually be able to see the link for that entire interview if you ever have interest in hearing it. But we've cut it down to about 22 minutes. So you have a chance to watch this post piece. It's going to be about 21 or 22 minutes. So if you got to watch, go to the bathroom, grab another drink, get some more food, do that. I'm going to get my first bit of supper here in a second. But John and Judy Collins, now in their mid-70s, took the generous, and we're heading now to watch. It's going to be put into a few chapters. So watch John and Judy Collins as they talk about how the Hawaii Ironman began in their kitchen. It has been about 30 plus years that I've wanted to meet this amazing couple. And when you hear the story of how they have lived their lives, and I'm going to let them tell it, but I can't tell you how pumped I am that on our 25th anniversary of our club, that our female athletes in the club are going to hear how the Hawaii Ironman and endurance sport in a significant way have been influenced by women from day one. How a family, just a unique family of four, have lived a lifestyle that have changed the entire world. Maybe they didn't realize it when they were going down that pathway, but it certainly has. And how just their passion for fitness, something that we all do every week, a couple times a week, maybe 4 or 5 times if you're a more advanced athlete, how living your lifestyle doesn't have to be at odds with your passion. So first of all, I'd like to welcome from California, Judy and John Collins. So thank you so much for giving us some time in your busy schedules.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. It's very nice and warm here.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We've just come off our best 7 days in 100 years, so we're all feeling pretty warm right now, although winter is not too far away. Judy, you told me before we went live that if we hear the odd little airplane flying over your backyard, whereabouts are you at in the world? But I know there's an airplane landing strip not too far from your house.
Well, we are a couple of blocks from Naval Air Station, North Island. And when we walk about a mile to go swimming in the ocean, we are looking at Mexico.
Clearly, you know, when I look at the readings, your son and daughter were athletes. You had them involved in swimming and other activities. I'm reading about, 250-kilometer bike rides as a family and long hikes. So you were role models way back at a time that most families weren't necessarily active. Did you see yourself as pioneers, or was it just something that the two of you enjoyed doing?
We would not have called ourselves athletes in high school. Sports always took down my grade average. I avoided them whenever I could, except that I swam in the ocean, or what we called playing in the waves. I bicycled to get there, and I ran very, very hard to run home and back to school at lunchtime. That's what we did. So to me, triathlon has always been the activities of childhood that were so much fun in Hawaii and in California. I say that if our children had not become age group swimmers, we never, ever would have taken up regular exercise in our mid-30s. We felt completely detached from their 5-day-a-week schedule of swim practice and entering meets on the weekend. It never crossed our minds, yet John had commuted by bicycle almost from the time we were married.
Of course, during the 50s, I was on a nuclear submarine, and it takes a lot of laps around the engine room to make up a mile.
So, John, we're getting close now to 1974. Many people consider it to be the first triathlon ever, the San Diego Track Club, if I recall. Can you kind of tell us about that September event, how it happened? What's the background of why there's an actual triathlon in San Diego in 1974?
Well, I'm going to pass this one over because Judy actually knows the answers to it. My part of it is that Flo Squires, one of the women that she will mention, came to swim practice?
She was one of our master swimmers. Our group had been formed by a retired frogman who looked at the parents of the children's swim team and thought the parents looked soft. The children were athletes, their parents were soft. And he started an adult swim group. Flo Squires was one of those swimmers. Her children were on the swim team. And she decided she wanted to learn how to run so that she could qualify for the Boston Marathon. Notice that two-step. I'm going to run so I can be in the Boston Marathon. No years of training. She just made that decision, and that's how we all did then. One night she invited us.
Don't worry, I can hear you, so don't worry, we can hear you from this end.
You can hear?
Yeah.
It's hard for us to hear what we're saying when those planes go off. By the way, her husband was one of those aviators that make all the noise, like our daughter, who became an aviator. But she made an announcement before our swim practice, and we took her up on it, and we picked up our two children after their swim practice and went to that event. It had been for the prior 2 years a run swim that was organized by somebody named David Payne, who had been an advocate of a master's men's swim group, 40 and over. Before that, the runners had to swim open with all the college age people. So this was the birthday event that year because one of the track club members had a running injury and had started riding a bicycle and enjoyed it. So Don Shanahan and Jack Johnstone were told to combine their events. And then they researched the word and came up with triathlon. And I just realized in the last few days, I have 5 years of newsletters for the San Diego Track Club that Jack sent me before he died. And the run swim distances and course were about the same. So we started out with a 2.8 mile run, went back to our cars where our bicycles were scratching the car paint, got on our bikes and did 5.2 miles of a bike ride. And then we ran back over to this island, Fiesta Island in Mission Bay Park, took off our shorts and our shoes and our socks, threw them into a garbage bag, and did 4 or 5 run swim legs. We ended with a swim, and it was so much fun to end an event with a swim. I still feel that way. And that meant a little over 10 miles, and it took anywhere from about 50 minutes to 90 minutes. It ended in the dark because it happened to be on a Wednesday after work. And on our last swim leg, there was a bonfire on the beach where they took our time, thank goodness, because we had to find our way up a dirt bluff.
On the ship.
How important was the very first triathlon that you guys had eventually when you guys get to Hawaii? So at a certain point, you now are moving from San Diego, you get transferred, I think it's to Hawaii. Is that the next step for you guys from San Diego? What year do you move to Hawaii?
Well, we moved there in 1975, shortly after the first Coronado Optimist Club triathlon that was organized by our swim coach as a surprise to us. It was a bike run, swim run. And John and I, we all entered, but only our children did it. We decided to drive all night to San Francisco to do a swim in San Francisco Bay because we had read that they gave, get this, pewter mugs to all the participants. And it wasn't so.
But we still have the glass mugs they did give us.
They gave us glass mugs. So we called that the drive, swim, drive. Meanwhile, our children were in that first triathlon, and I had had the reaction from the Mission Bay triathlon that it was so much fun. It was a lot more fun than swimming for over an hour. And I told our coach that, and he is the one, Stan Antrim, who came up with the idea of the triathlon in July 75, shortly before we moved to Hawaii.
So you get to Hawaii now with some skills of some swimming and a little bit of biking and running. Do you find that population when you get to Hawaii? Do you kind of immediately start to find other groups that are there, or are you all on your own as new people moving into Hawaii?
Actually, we thought we were on our own, and to the point where we actually started a master swimming group ourselves before we found out that there already was one, the Waikiki Swim Club. And
we hired the children's swim coach to start a master's team. And one of the people who signed up said, I don't want to come on Saturday. Don't you know that all the swimmers on the island swim a 1K and 2K course at Ala Moana Lagoon in Honolulu? And that was that. We stopped having our master's group, started showing up on Saturday. And then in order to get access to a swimming pool, one of the swimmers suggested that we contact the Red Cross, all of us become lifeguards, so that we would always have a lifeguard in the off hours at a swim pool. That was just the only rule. And we ended up going on to a swim calendar that became our social life, the Marathon Bennett.
So we're now talking 75, in that kind of window, 75, you guys are doing some of the rough water swims. John is in the Navy in the region. The family's growing, they're athletic, and the kids are swimming and taking part in sport. How do you start to formulate this Ironman idea? Where does it come from? You know, are you sitting at the kitchen table? There's all kinds of myths. Where did this come from, the start of the idea?
Well, right.
That whole thing was Judy's idea, and I didn't know much about it at all. I was in the Navy, and if you've heard of these jobs that are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this was that plus a little extra time if you could work with both hands. So I had really no idea what she was doing, and she was trying to put together a triathlon in Hawaii, a distance kind of triathlon. And I wasn't. I just entered, paid money, showed up, and did things. So that was sort of the extent of my part of it. But she was always adding up this course and that course, and how could we tie that together? And
John and I, in our minds, say that the longest running triathlon in the world, the Coronado Optimist Triathlon, since 1975, has that the idea for that was because we went back and told our swim coach why we had missed practice. And we said, this is so much fun. He said, it's not a sport. I remember that. I had been laying out triathlon courses in Coronado, San Diego, Honolulu from 1974 on, because it was just so much fun to combine geography with things you like to do.
So we're now getting closer to that very first race. Tell us, how far out before did you formulate that this is actually going to occur from this knowledge you've had way back in 75? You're now living in Hawaii. When do you now start to formalize this a little bit more, Judy, in terms of there's going to be an actual event?
1 year before. So I decided that if we put on a long distance triathlon, we would satisfy our desire to do long distance events and also introduce triathlon to Hawaii and also get off the volunteer hook for all 4 in the family. So at any rate, February 77, we were in charge of the run swim. It was 2 weeks away, and I decided we would put on a long distance triathlon a year from then in February 1978. We made the decision in probably a total of 10 or 12 minutes.
So you now have 12 months to get ready for this event. Do you put the word out? Do you have any kind of a working, committee? Is there any budget? Is it all happening at your kitchen table at nighttime after swim practice?
No. We didn't even talk about it until October 1977. I mean, small talk at breakfast after the swim on Saturday. But no, it was all planned because, you see, it was based on 3 events that already existed. We had the rules, the permits were in place, but we're formalizing it. Most were show and go, low cost, no t-shirt. For some events, we didn't even start a watch or keep a time. And that was one of the events. I find this interesting. On the West Coast newsletter, we knew at the time there were events that sometimes were called challenge events. They might keep a time of the first finisher, but they would not give that finisher a name because the goal was to complete the event. And it happens that I looked up the other day on the 1979 West Coast Swim newsletter, and I saw that it was on the Columbia River, and 4 in our family did that event last year. It was the same event. And John said a young man finished first, and they had his time, and all the other couple of hundred people just finished. It was a challenge event. And that was our model for this around the island triathlon. Until we found out that the Waikiki Swim Club had no event insurance, that the AAU, which sanctioned the Honolulu Marathon and the Waikiki Rough Water, certainly would not be interested in our adding a bike leg. And so we decided it wouldn't be a club event open to the public. It would be a public event for which we would get some permission.
So in my reading, I see that those initial 15 people essentially were all, if I'm not mistaken, kind of members of that race so that nobody could sue each other, that you guys were all kind of covered in that way, that you were a racer and a organizer of the event at the same time. So there was nobody to kind of look to and point a finger for suing. Is that correct in that first year?
That was the goal. I wasn't a lawyer. She wasn't a lawyer. We didn't have any money. We had a little house and a car. That was about it. And we were really, really scared of lawyers.
I got it. So I see a piece of paper that has some rules written. Whose handwriting was that? Who wrote out those rules? And I'm assuming that those 15 people all kind of got this handwritten set of this is the Hawaii Ironman rules leading into the event in 1978.
And they built on the rules for those other events.
And I put that together at work with the help of my secretary. We didn't use any government time. She did it on her lunch hour. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So it's coming up onto race week. I see these fantastic little Ironman plaques that people got, awards. Where did they come from? Whose idea was that? And I'm sure that those things, that was a dozen or so that made it into people's hands, are now historic benefits that you want to keep in your house.
I guess that was actually my second try. The first one was trying to weld up out of bolts something that looked like the 10-man that you see on the logo of the t-shirts. and it turns out that I was not that good a welder, so I decided to solder it up out of copper, the copper pipe with a steel head. And I'm not that good a solderer either. Judy's version of this that I have, the head is not there. And when Johnny Carson invited Tom Warren after 79 to come and be on the television show, Tom took his trophy, and there on national television, the head fell right off.
So we're leading into race week. John, you're doing the event. Did your son do that first race as well?
No, and that's one of my lifetime regrets. He really wanted to be a late start. He had to be on a relay at a championship swim meet. John's going to get one of the trophies.
Things rolling as we get into race week in 1978. It's the original race, and if I understand, you had to have some of your own support out on the course. Roads weren't closed down, so this is a lot of rules that people have to figure out and follow on their own.
We followed the model of the Around the Island Perimeter Relays, which had 2 cars that leapfrogged around the island to change off the runners. And those cars had all the sustenance. They were the aid station for that particular runner. We followed that model for the Ironman, but with just 1 car. And we also required a paddler in the ocean.
No cutoff times in those early years. The concept, as you talked about very early on, was completion. Get through this, use whatever it took. The 12, there we go. So you're at the finishing line. How amazing is it to have one of those put into your hands? Were they at the finishing line waiting for you, or did you get it the next day when you woke up?
Actually, it was the next day, but I was still soldering on these things the day before the race.
Our daughter was helping him do it.
Anyway, the workmanship was not all that great, as I said. These I made in 1970 or
2003.
In 2003, when Bob Babbitt
and Rick
Kozlowski put on what they call Hawaiian Ironman Revisited around Oahu instead of the Big Island. And here's the nut, and there's the head. I couldn't find the t-shirt.
Right.
So we're going to move ahead. So the race ends. The dozen people finish. It's late into the night. We have this 11:46 time by Gordon Holler as he runs down John Dunbar. What happens after that race? Do you go into kind of like just back to work mode and forget about this for the next 8 or 9 months, or do you start immediately thinking about the next season, 1979?
Well, it depends on who you were. If you were Gordon Howler or John Dunbar or one of those people, I think they went down and had a party. In my case, I had a really difficult time staying awake for more than 30 minutes and a really difficult time staying asleep for more than 30 minutes for the entire day. But we met at our house the next day for the presentation of the T-shirts and the trophies. And the T-shirts, this is the 1979 T-shirt right here. But in 1978, it was my arm. Oh, okay. In 1978, you brought your own T-shirt to our house, or your beach towel, or underwear, or whatever you wanted. And I had made a silk screen for the top part, which had the logo on it. And we put that on anything you want, as many as you wanted, any color you wanted, as long as it was black ink. And then the day after the event, you brought it back, and I had a separate silk screen.
No, this is key. The wet, smelly shirts stayed in our house for the next couple of days, hanging off the curtain rod in our dining room. Very strong odor. And then the day after the triathlon, people were invited late in the day to come by, and John and I had put finisher on the shirts of the 12 people who had finished. And at that time, John gave them a trophy. There was no party, it was a pickup.
I can't tell you what a pleasure it was to spend time with John and Judy. Now, literally, we had an hour and 17 minutes, and if you are that big of a geek as I am, we will send out the link. But you can imagine the stories that these guys have had, and literally handing over a box that they got nothing for to the people who eventually, Valerie Silk and others, took the race, carried it on to the Big Island, sold it for about $3 million. And the last time it got sold a couple of months ago, it was almost $700 million from the Chinese back to a US organization. So I want to thank John and Judy for being so generous. Airplanes flying over them. You can see that they were a lovely couple and fit the kind of energy that C3 has of just an active lifestyle, all about their family and so forth. We're going to connect with our good friend, Taylor Reed. Taylor Reed is in Utah, St. George, Utah, in the United States, and he's getting ready for the $1 million+ race in Daytona in about 3 weeks. Taylor, can you hear me?
Hi, guys. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, Barry. It's really nice to connect with everyone, even though it's from far away. Yeah, I really miss the actual banquet, like seeing everyone. But as we know, like we got to do what we got to do. And it's, yeah, really exciting. Super happy to see one of my better buddies get and the C3 virtual banquet fun. The delicious
cake. Right here, Taylor, for everybody who can take a look. This is my wife making a little cake for everyone. You can have a slice if you stop over to the house. It's the C3 virtual banquet calories. So hopefully you can enjoy. Taylor, talk about being in St. George. It's the World 70.3 Championships next year, but it's one of the most iconic places to train. And who are you with right now training?
Yeah, so I got into St. George about a week ago, and I'm here at Nick Chase's house. He's been a good friend of myself, Jackson, and Cody. So I'm here with basically 4 really good guys to train with. And yeah, we're getting ready for the PTO championships in Daytona, which I believe Barry will be announcing as well. So it'll be great to see everyone there. Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. Like, it took a little bit for me to get my bearings and adapt to like 3,000 feet. But now that I'm back on top of everything, I'm really happy. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm feeling as fit as I've ever been. So Daytona is going to be amazing, and it's going to be live. So hopefully everyone tunes into that as well.
Now you're not here obviously tonight to give a real hug or a virtual hug.
No.
Late in the evening, your good buddy is getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. Just a few words about Sean Bechtel, and we'll see him later on when we induct him in.
Yeah, Sean, he's probably one of the most deserving people to get this award. I remember when I first came into the club about 15 years ago, and just being able to look up to someone who was a professional in the sport was beyond important. There's been a lot of talk about him being a mentor and helping everyone grow, but everyone, don't forget, he was an amazing athlete. He had multiple national championship medals, and just watching someone who was actually a true professional was allowed me to show me that I actually could become a professional myself. So that was hugely important. And we had so many good times down in Arizona, just basically developing a great friendship. And he destroyed me on the bike some days and just taught me so many things. But yeah, like, he was just a great athlete, a great dude. And like, now he's up in Collingwood. And even when I had a little bit of a job on the side for sales, like, I was able to go and talk to him. He gave me a few pointers on that side. So he's just been a great friend ever since I met him. And I'm really happy to see him get this award.
Well, Taylor, we will continue on because we're actually starting to hand out some of our awards. I thank you for tuning in. Say hello to Cody and to Jackson, and we'll see you guys and Mr. Lionel Sanders down in Daytona going around a very fast track in a couple of weeks. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a legend part of our club. And, you know, you're in the prime part of your career. So I know that you got to be focused on yourself. So thank you so much for being such a big part of our club.
Well, thank you guys. Like, you guys are a family. To be honest, like, Barry, we've been together for over 15 years and you've helped me grow so much. So thank you, everyone, especially our sponsors as well. Kim, all the gang, like Benson Steel, everyone has been a huge help. I can't thank them enough.
Thank you, buddy. We're going to let Taylor Reed get to bed here. He needs his beauty sleep if he's going to take a big chunk of that $1 million prize purse in a few weeks. So we'll let Taylor Reed head off. And we're going to move into the awards section of the night. And we're going to do this in a fairly quick but respectful way. So hopefully you can appreciate that as we move into the awards, We didn't want to go to each individual person with technology maybe not working so well. So to start off the night with our junior female athlete of the year, it's not a huge surprise. Kira Gupta Baltazar had a spectacular year. She won the junior category at our race. She won 2 silvers with the pros. She led out of the water, and for the first 20 kilometers of the overall pro race this year, the Lululemon race. And just today, she won the Ontario Cross Country Championships in a massively, massively competitive race. So our junior female of the year, Kira Gupta Baltazar. And as we move into the male category, it is Tristan Jones, who won the junior race this year. He, along with Taylor Reed, broke 15 minutes on the track earlier this summer. He was a silver medalist in the Nouveau Iron race with Taylor Reed earlier on. And he won the Ontario Cross Country Championships this afternoon. So the combination of both Kira and Tristan winning the overall cross country, not just triathletes. As we move into the elite category for our pro women, Kristen Marchand has been an absolute legend. She had a breakthrough season with that fantastic race in the Lululemon race earlier this year. Finished top 5. She had the second fastest bike split of the day. She has been a mentor to many of our young athletes, coaching, doing everything you could ask them to do. And on Saturday, she makes all of her age groupers hurt. So Kristen Marchand, congratulations on your spectacular win. Taylor Reed is our elite male athlete of the year. So it's lovely that we just got ready, finished up with Taylor. He won the Nouveau Iron race earlier on. He was in the half Ironman earlier this year, and he is going to be a beast and one of those quiet guys in Daytona. I would love to see that guy come home with a paycheck that has a whole bunch of zeros after a 1. So Taylor Reed, our elite male of the year. As we move into our Masters category winners, we see the 2 of them up side by side. Denise Ross has been a name we've seen for a very long time, been to the Hawaii Ironman, has been on the podium at Hawaii. She did the half Ironman in Chile and was one of the dominant athletes earlier this year. She won the half Ironman that C3 put on the Benson Royal Half in September, continues to inspire us. And Denise Ross, the long distance woman. And our master, Jason Dunkerley, who has been away from the club for a few years, he raced 15 of our triathlons this summer. And believe it or not, he literally had kidney stones during the half Ironman race that we put on in September and still finished the race. So Jason Dunkerley, we wish you best of luck and hope to see you back out to work out soon. The Barry Shepley Award, something that I actually get to select, was given to me many years ago to put out for people who make a difference in our club. And there are 2 people who have gone so far beyond the call, not just this year, but over many years. Trent Dilkey, when you see all of those pictures for the last 20 years, it has been Trent on hot days, on cold days, on raining days, out there taking care of those pictures. And to be able to go back and see such an archive of pictures through all of those years, Trent Dilkey, our male Barry Shepley Award winner, and his tag team, Marketa. She is the woman, you're going to see her video coming up very shortly on the COVID event this summer. She put the Bob Nucky documentary together a couple of years ago. If you want to see the greatest pictures of a very active person around the world, not just around Canada, although most of her travel this year because of COVID has been in Canada. So Marketa, we thank you so, so much for all that you continue to do. The pictures that you provide and video inspire us all. So thank you so much to Marketa. Our Bob Nucky Volunteering Award, there's 2 people amongst the many, many, and you could name Tim Bishop, you can name Chris Reed. I can go down the list of people who went beyond the call of duty this summer of helping us down at the quarry. But every single morning, starting at 5:45 for the last 100 days, right up until October, Carmora was at the quarry to open it up so those who wanted to swim between 6 o'clock in the morning and about 9 o'clock were able to get into the water. And on top of that, he did not swim once this entire year with a wetsuit, including just 4 days ago when it was 7.4 degrees. So our Carmora, thank you so much. And Jim Reed, I know that Peggy has the award for you. I've given it to her. Jim raced all summer long. He's the talent, at least 50% of the talent to his son, Taylor Reed. But he was the man who was out there with the machine guns, taking down all those big weeds. He was the guy who built the trailer, the base, He was there painting. If we needed something done, Jim Reed was there all year long. So to Carm and to Jim, we thank you so much for what you've done. We move into our Comeback of the Year award. It was a no-brainer. Ian Steer last February had shoulder surgery. We weren't sure that we would see him for the whole year, even though he had a World Championships in Edmonton this summer. The doctors said it would probably take a year to get back to training. He led through an entire summer of racing that competitive men's 70-plus category, rehabbed himself, was swimming, biking, and running at an all-time great level, and we expect to see him racing at a high level at next year's World Championships. And this award is going to really come as a surprise. Grant, you are a legend. For those who have not seen Grant, he's probably lost 30 pounds in the last 12 months. He loves to ride his motorcycle, initially more than his road bike, but I rode with him a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't even come close to holding his wheel. He works at Air Canada up at the airport. He has got a half Ironman race under his priorities for 2021 and is one of those guys that inspire you as you continue to get ready for the next season. So Grant, we thank you. I know that Tracy has your award, and hopefully you'll have it proudly up on your wall next to all your motorcycle racing plaques. And finally, we'd love to just recognize a few of our sponsors who have done a brilliant, brilliant job. And we can't thank them enough. We have thanked them in different ways with small gifts. But to Steve Benson, I know you and your daughter are watching tonight. You've been involved in the Kids of Steel race going back 30 plus years ago. Your company just celebrated its 40th anniversary. You have taken our great, great staff in, and they've been part of your company, whether it was McGill or Lewis or others who've worked within your team over the years. You've been an Ironman athlete and have given back to the community, not just C3, in so many ways. To Kim Nelson and Royal Containers, we've got employees still working there. Kristen Marchand is there, Andrew York worked there, Andrew Woger, and I can name many others that have worked there over the years, Robin McGillip. Kim Nelson, the former CEO, fastest woman in the world at Ironman, and they continue to be one of our primary sponsors. The good people at James Dick, without them, we would have no way and no place to swim. They've expanded and supported us in so many ways. To Carlos and the team at Nouveau Iron, we thank you, Carlos. Philip and his team at Connecticut, I know Philip's up in the area north of Caledon, and they've been a big part of what we've done. To Philippe and your gang at Vanilla Prepaid, and finally to Rick Arthur. If you've not seen all of the improvements that Rick has done at our training center in Bolton, you got to stop in. We have a hydro pool. We have a dozen Wahoos all connected to computers, a great weight training place. It is world-class in training, and one of the reasons that we are so lucky to be able to do what we do. So I want to thank you all, the award winners, and I want to thank our sponsors as we get ready now to move in to what I think is one of the most tremendous videos I have seen in a very, very long time. Marketa, I went to her earlier in the season and said, is there any chance that you could follow some of our kids? I mean, they were supposed to have a graduation. They were supposed to have a prom. They were supposed to go off and have frosh week. They were supposed to have all of these things, race at the World Championships. And all of those things got taken away from them because of COVID. And, you know, these are 18-year-old, 17-year-old kids who, like many of us, would have loved to have had those moments. And instead of complaining, they just put their heads down and had a phenomenal summer of training, whether it was the homestay families taking them in, the coaches, McGill and Lewis, myself and others. So please take a few seconds and watch this spectacular, I think, from Marketa, training in a COVID summer.
1,100 meters to go. We're now talking about 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and these guys will be done. It has been an unbelievable weekend of racing. Remember at the last year's World Championships, it looked exactly like this. Gomez just sort of waited, and with about 400 meters to go, he let Johnny kept the lead, and then when Gomez went by with 400 meters, it was that final, this is it. I either win it or you pass me. So let's just see, because right now Gomez, in my mind, still looks controlled. And here comes Gomez. That's the move that I thought we would see. Gomez, 400 meters to go. Johnny is not letting him get away. And remember, when Alistair went too early, Johnny came back. Well,
and there was a look over the shoulder from Gomez. He thought he might have broken him. He hasn't. He's still there.
Well, there's going to be at least one more attempt here. Here we go.
Here's the sprint from Johnny Brownlee. And can Gomez go with him?
He is making a move. You cannot believe this race. Guys on the other side of the road, athletes are stopping to cheer. Look at that. Unbelievable. Johnny Brownlee on his toes. Javier Gomez is not letting him away. This thing is not over. This is not over. Javier Gomez is not letting him get away. We're going to see one more push. Did Johnny go too early? It is going to be onto the blue carpet, and who's got the last gear? This is the greatest world championships we have ever seen. Johnny Brownlee, Javier Gomez, 100 meters to go. They're side by side coming down. Yeah, look at them coming through. Gomez, Brownlee, Gomez, Brownlee. This could be like the Olympic Games. Unbelievable. And Gomez takes it. Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable.
TV National News.
We begin with breaking news in Ontario.
Second national lockdown tomorrow.
The pandemic is at a critical stage. 100,000 people are catching coronavirus every day.
The fight against COVID-19.
From COVID-19.
The highest number of new infections since the start of the pandemic.
Body break. Pandemic pause.
First time in the 124-year history of the Olympics that it's been postponed.
I was in the best shape of my life.
Ready to race at Worlds.
And then COVID hit.
I'm Tristan Jones. I'm actually from Peterborough, Ontario. I got into triathlon when I was about 10 years old, did my first one. Just heard it through a friend, and I've been doing it ever since.
Hi, my name is Garrett Mason. I'm 18 years old, and I'm from Alliston, Ontario. I started triathlon when I was 5 years old. I got into it because my dad was doing them. 4 years ago, I joined C3. My dad contacted Barry Shevley, and I've been here ever since.
So in the morning, we're up fairly early. Like this, we were up at 5:20 to get ready for our 6 o'clock swim. Usually, it's not a ton of food in the morning. Maybe a bowl of cereal or a shake.
Yeah, getting up in the morning is definitely the toughest part of the day. You're tired, you're sore from the previous day, and you don't want to get up. But I think that's where living together really plays a big factor in motivation. So you know that you have your teammates. I have Tristan counting on me to get up, and he doesn't know. I motivate him to get up, and he motivates me to get up.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Since I was a kid, my ultimate goal has always been to go to the Olympics. I wasn't sure what sport I would be in, if it was swimming or soccer, but when I found triathlon, I really realized that that was the sport I was meant to be in. So that is really where I see myself.
In 3 decades of watching young teenagers come up, dating back to people like Simon Whitfield and Andrew York, to see such talent and dedication with Kira, with Garrett, with Tristan, we really realized that we had to maximize this summer and not just let it go by.
The house that we're staying in actually is it's our second year here. Right now we're living, it's Garrett and I are currently the only ones in the house right now. Honestly, this house has been a godsend. We've been able to, we have great roads around here to ride, great roads to run on. It's close enough to get to trails, close enough to the quarry to go open water swimming, and really it's honestly the best possible training spot. It's quiet. It's allowed us to really, I think, develop as triathletes. Just a little pre-snack before we go work out again.
So last October, Tristan and I started dating, and we really motivated each other, I think, because we both have such high goals and high expectations of ourselves that we pushed each other at, you know, at workouts. We were always keeping each other motivated, always keeping each other in check, always keeping each other accountable. And it was just something else to look forward to, you know, when I was going to training. And I know that it was disappointing for both of us when Worlds was canceled, because it would have been the first World Championships we would have gone to together. But I think that this summer we really just had to use each other for motivation, and you know, it's just been really nice having someone there for me in these times.
It's been probably, it's almost been 10 months now, 10 months on the 2nd of August that Kira and I have been dating. And at first we kind of kept it quiet. I don't think a lot of people knew. We just didn't want to distract anybody. I love hanging out with her. It's a little bit more motivation, like you said. It's obviously getting to workouts and seeing her is super nice. And it's cool to watch her do her thing and not even know how good she is. Like, she's amazing. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
This club has an assortment of world-class coaches, starting with Luis Lopez. He's been my coach since the first day I've been to the club. The first workout, I was introduced to him. And ever since then, he's been my coach, and we've been really close.
I lived with Luis for 2 years. My first 2 years, I lived with him, and he was like a second dad to me. He really took me, and I think he took every guy under his wing, and has kept us safe, has kept us motivated, has made sure it's always in our best interest at anything he does. And I think really he deserves a lot of credit.
I've been coaching Tristan and Garrett for about 5 years now, and it has been quite a privilege to see how they have evolved from when they're little kids, teens still, but little kids, and how they have become better and better athletes. These guys are not ordinary teenagers. They have a different drive than most people. They have a different will to succeed, and they are pretty much committed to do everything that needs to be done to achieve what they believe can be the best they can be.
Miguel has been crucial to the swimming in the club.
He's constantly on us about our technique, and more importantly, I think it's about feeling good in the water, is what he always says, and that's really something I think we're all focusing on.
It was interesting getting back from Arizona and the COVID experience, because suddenly athletes who had goals were realizing that maybe none of those events are going to happen. And very quickly, the coaches, Lewis, McGill, and myself sat down and said, we've got to put together something that these athletes can train for. And so these really high performance races in Caledon, the best athletes in all of the world coming to our small town for one focus and one reason, and that was to provide high performance athletic goals so that our elite athletes had something to strive for later in the summer. An athlete's career is a ticking clock. You can't just let 12 months go by and not do something productive if you really want to one day be one of the best in the world. So we realized that immediately, even though we had races, we now had to get into super training mode, and these guys responded incredibly well. They did not take any days off. It was an incredible summer of high performance training.
Barry Shepley, our coach, has been probably the biggest benefactor in, I think, the club history, and definitely in my career as a triathlete. He's done so much for us and continues to put all his time into us and making sure that we have the best possible opportunities for our future and our training. It's been incredible.
Then they're down to just 2 athletes, Taylor Reed in the red, Tristan Jones, the junior, in the blue. 10 years, the junior. These two guys have been epic all day into the 90-degree temperatures. They battled away from the rest of the competition. 400 meters to the finishing line, the final calories and fluid in. There's Taylor Reed in the red, trying to use his experience as he pulls away from the junior. What an epic summer it has been for Tristan Jones, the man heading down on scholarship right now, trying to stay with one of Canada's greatest. You can see Tristan Jones hanging on, but the hamstring's starting to tighten up. It is Taylor Reed starting to pull away in the last few hundred meters. What an epic final sprint. The 29-year-old will win the Nuvo Iron Championship, and Tristan Jones will be second.
That was tactically perfect. What can I say? I sat on him for like the last kilometer, and I just took him the last 100 meters. Mad respect. He's only like 19. I'm like 29. I've got 10 years on him. This guy's going to be amazing in the future.
Tristan, how was that?
That was tough. That was really tough. Taylor just had to go in the downhill. I just couldn't go with him. Let my hamstring go a little bit. It's all good. It was very tough today. Super hot.
This year, the world stopped. We didn't. We worked harder. We grew closer.
We leaned on each other for support, for motivation.
We will never forget this summer. It bonded us, brought us together.
We know the competition isn't over. We know the race has yet to start.
But we've already won.
Marketa, you are a legend. I thank you for that piece of work. There was kind of 2 love stories going on there, one between the 2 guys who are training partners and one between Kira and Tristan. So we'll see who wins out in the battle. But thank you, Marketa. What a fantastic piece of work. And I can't tell you how proud I am of our juniors. It would have been an easy summer to sit on their bum and do nothing with races being canceled. But because of people like McGill and our club and Lewis, myself, and others putting on those training sessions and races, these guys are going to be really ready for next year's World Championships in both Bermuda and in Edmonton. So thank you, Marketa, for 4 days of not sleeping. I know that the final edit was a long piece of work for you. We're going to move into one of the all-time legends. I know that every time he comes up in a C3 conversation, people are proud that he's had a relationship with us over the years. Simon Whitfield is checking in, coming off of a soccer game yesterday. Simon Whitfield, thank you so much. 25 years. Just some of your thoughts of coming to Caledon, whether it was staying at the Bechtel's house over those years, your food poisoning in Brampton, winning the triathlon up at the big palace up down the street where you won the championship race a few years back as well. Just your thoughts of the club over the years.
Oh, it's spectacular. It's after all those years of saying what it was going to be and watching it just unfold and unfold, particularly the last couple of years, and then everything that's happened this year. It's the best of what triathlon is, what a triathlon club is. And I'm very proud that I've been able to come up and contribute in a small way, and then to meet the characters, the cast of characters. That's really at the end of the day what defines it. And that's we catching up with Sean and Andrew and Taylor and you. It's it brings back a flood of memories. So yeah, very proud to be associated with C3.
The legend, Dr. Leith Drury, is on tonight. She's in Toronto. We talked earlier today. I know that some of your old teammates from those earlier years have tuned in. Just the thought. I mean, now you're a father. You're into paddling. You've got so many other things going on. Triathlon is now one of the things that are about you, but not defines you. But when you see Tristan and Kira and Nicholas and all these young athletes, Garrett, what are your thoughts about seeing the same passion that they have now that you had, almost 30 years ago now, frighteningly?
Oh, geez. I'm just jealous that they're at the beginning of it all. It's what a journey it is. And to be able to, I don't know, express yourself that way and to work hard and just to get into it like that. It brings, like I said, it brings back a lot of memories of just being single-minded and focused on one thing and just the real privilege that is.
Now, we've had a guy who has carried our club for many years. He's being inducted later on tonight, but your thoughts of Sean Bechtel and Mark Bechtel, the whole Bechtel family, but particularly Sean and what he's meant to C3 and to just the Canadian race scene.
See, Barry, I was going to say that my first memory of Sean and crew was down in Arizona, but now that you mentioned the family, I remember being out on the farm and driving the truck around the yard. So skipping all that, I will say that over the years, it was just, I don't know, there's that stoic, methodical work ethic that's displayed by so many of the C3 athletes, and in particular, Sean. So Sean, it was a real pleasure to spend time with you, and you always just brought such a wonderful attitude. You're all class, and so you really epitomize what it means to be a professional, not only a professional, but just a good human. So that certainly brings back memories from the truck and the driving around the farm to out on long bike rides.
Well, we'll let him know that. I know he's tuning in. We're going to save the last part, but thank you, Simon, for tuning in. You continue to bring joy to so many Canadians, whether it's through the Toronto Triathlon Festival, whether it's the paddling that's out west. And I will send a link, but if anyone wants to have some joy, real joy, it'll be to head out to Victoria, where you are a man on a paddle 300 plus days a year. And if they want to have a real experience now with Simon Whitfield, it's not on a bike, it's going to be on a paddleboard out in the ocean.
Well, thanks, Barry, and thanks for keeping us all connected like this. It's the day-to-day goes on, but these reconnections that you and the C3 Club you pull together, you really are about people, and so it's really, truly, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Simon Whitfield out in Victoria has given so much to so many for so long. We thank him for taking time tonight as we move over to another Zoom call, and that is one of the fastest police officers in the entire world. Andrew York is tuning in from, I think it's Thunder Bay. Andrew York, give us a hoot.
Hey there, guys. Great to be here. Yes, it is Thunder Bay.
So you have come off of some really interesting last 8 or 10 weeks of some intense training, getting ready now, I think, to move even to another part of Northern Ontario. Talk about what's happening to Andrew York, the former Olympian, the former fourth place finisher, at the Commonwealth Games. And for many of us here in C3, remembering you taking off out of that transition zone at the Pan American Games like you had a rocket launcher under your rear end. If the race had ended after 400 meters, you would have been the Pan Am champion. So Andrew York, just catching up with us. Tell us about your thoughts of C3's 25 years and a few words about your old training pal, Sean Bechtel.
I mean, it's been a great ride. I guess the last few years or last 10 weeks have been on this kind of level 2 TAC team course with the OPP. And one of the big things that I noticed on that course is that all the skills that I was able to learn from Sean, from guys on the team, from you as a coach, Barry, all the age groupers, I was able to put those skills into my day-to-day work now, and it's really helped me out. Sean was like a big brother to me, and if it wasn't for him, I can say right now that the majority of my career where I got to wouldn't have happened. I probably wouldn't have got past the provincial level if not for him.
Your old buddy Andrew Cole is online tonight with his daughter in Ottawa. He sent me an email earlier today, and he said, "I can't wait to see Whitfield and Bechtel and York and Reed." Your thoughts about Andrew Cole, what he and Paula Schnurr, what they gave to our club at McMaster during those development years for all of you guys. Andre Paul was there, Sanders was there, Taylor was there.
Yeah, I mean those two coaches, they gave great structure to a lot of young guys coming in, and myself, Taylor Reed, Sean Bechtel, John Rasmussen, we were able to to make the triathlon side of the house work. But only because we were welcomed in by the McMaster family of coaches there and use the facilities and learn from their athletes and get better.
Your family still lives here in town. Talk about, your mom and dad, what a role they played. Your dad's been like on the Kids of Steel race committee for 20 straight years, pulling all those carpets out of the barn, putting them out so the kids don't have to run out on gravel. Just how important all of the parents of our club have been over those 25 years of it wasn't just drop your kid off. I mean, many of them train. I see your dad run with them on the pathway still. We get slower every Sunday, but that's okay. We're still out there doing our thing. But just how important Tracy and Ward have been, and all the other parents.
I mean, like everyone says it, but I really do have the best parents in the world, and they've been supportive of me through my racing career, and supportive of other athletes trying to make it. And it's great that they're both still involved in sport. My mom tennis, my dad's still doing a bit of triathlon and really getting back into the weightlifting. But it was like a big family, just the C3 community and the triathlon community as a whole in Ontario and across the country. Like we really do have a good thing going on here.
Steve Benson's checking in tonight. He's a past Ironman athlete. He's done a million things, both as a businessman and volunteering. But, I remember Steve coming to watch you at a World Cup race. Might have been London. I can't remember where he came to watch you. But just, how amazing our sponsors have been, that not just do they write a check and say, hey, kid, go do something. I mean, they do the sport, and then they even fly halfway around the world to watch you.
Yeah, very, very fortunate to have great sponsorship throughout my entire career. And nearly all of those sponsors came through the C3 team and through the connections that you had and other people in the community. I had better sponsors than a lot of other guys who had maybe flashier names on their suits, but, Benson Steel, Connecticut, Royal Containers, even when I was working in the box factory coming out of high school, I got very, very lucky to form those connections then, and still be able to speak with those guys now.
Andrew York, we wish you best of luck. I know you're going to end up in another part of Northern Ontario, but every time you get down, I know you come out, run with the kids, inspire, take a little Akira Center 5K PB 2 weeks ago when you were pacing her through the 5K. So I didn't want to make you go any faster. You said, I'll take Kira, but I don't think I want to take Tristan Jones for his 5K. So I noticed you're getting smart as you age. So thank you so much for all that you've done for us, Andrew. And when you get home around the holidays, even if we have to go for a walk and socially distance, I'll still love to catch up.
Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. Loved everyone.
Awesome. We are going to move into a very small but thank you video from the guy who's been behind the scenes all night long, Lucas Vadika. He had a great race today at the Ontario Cross Country Championships, and he's benefited a little bit from C3. He wanted to thank us for all of the hard work that we've been able to do on his behalf.
Hello, C3 members. My name is Lucas Vadika, and I am an aspiring junior triathlete. Some of you may have seen me at some of the C3 races this past season, but many of you may not know me because I am not a full-time member of the C3 club. I wanted to take this short time to congratulate all of you for rising to the occasion this past season under very challenging times. I would also like to congratulate C3 and all of the award winners this evening. Most importantly, I want to thank C3's chairman, Gary Black, coaches Barry Shepley and Luis Lopez, and my fellow C3 junior friends, as well as the entire club. I have been fortunate enough to be able to access many C3 activities like the Tucson training camp, races, and other training activities. All the best this evening, and enjoy your special celebration. Thank you.
Well, the quarry is not only for world-class athletes like C3 athletes, John, and all of the gang, it's also for the love of animals. And take a look at what some of the famous animals did this summer at the Caledon Quarry. It was one of our most popular programs all summer long. Thank you to Jill and to Tim and to Karen and to C3 for bringing families who have animals and love their animals great joy. Karen made a big contribution to some people over the summer, some of the nonprofit animal charities that were struggling. So Karen loves it. Her Furry Friends 5K are now at almost $800,000 they've raised for charity. And I can't brag enough about my lovely wife who gives a lot to other people. Tuning in to us, just got online, is McGill, the man who swam across Lake Ontario in 17 plus hours, the 57 kilometers. He made the move from Mexico to Canada. McGill, just talk about your visions of living in Canada, C3, what it's brought to your life since you've been here.
Well, it has been a blessing. Like, I never expected it. I just wanted to come to this place, and it was just fortunate sequence of event that I get to meet you, and then you pull me into what it is C3, and I've been incredibly blessed that I've been able to share a little bit of the things that I know and I have learned over the course of these years. I'm very blessed with being here.
I know that you have given your life to sport. You were a young sportsman, a swimmer, a modern pentathlete before you got to Canada. Worked in graphic arts, you worked at the Toronto Star, you worked at the biggest newspaper in Mexico doing their graphic arts before you got here. But I never see you as happy as when I see you either in a kayak at our quarry or on the pool deck. You know, that smile continues to come out. Just talk about having the chance to work with age group athletes, you know, Kim Nelson and others who are in the pool, people like Doris just getting started. And then you also have the luxury of, you know, world-class young athletes like Kira and Tristan and Garrett and others who come to you on a regular basis.
You know what? When I was an athlete, I was focused on myself, and I learned a lot of my other coaches. And they are coaches that I like very much, and I admired and I respected. And there's many others that I didn't. But at the same time, I learned from all of them. And I just discovered at some point while I was here in Canada, didn't happen in Mexico. I did coach in Mexico as well, but didn't happen as much. I discovered when I was coaching here that their success, the success of the people that I was coaching, became somehow a source of joy for me. And somehow I turned it into, if I want to be happy today, I need to make them do something that they are happy with. And immediately it just completely changed the way I see coaching, the way I do things in the pool. And I can be tired, I can be rushing, I can be worried about many other things. And when I'm in the pool, it's like the world disappears and I am able to tune out everything and just give what I can to each one of the people that is in the water with me. And it's my little bubble of time and space where the joys just come out. Then it's kind of like I get off the kayak, I get off the paddleboard, or I get off deck, and then I have to come back to reality. But at least when I'm there,
how lucky you are. Talk about how lucky you are to have, you know, Rick Arthur and our hydro pool at RA Tech. I mean, you know, how many coaches can have their own, you know, pool they can work with one-on-one besides the quarry, besides the various other pools you use? I mean, you really have some resources at your fingertips.
Yes, and I never expected it. Just happened, obviously, thanks to you and Rick that wanted this much and to have this pool, to have it for himself, and his generosity that he just put it there for the club. And well, it is an enormous resource that, especially in the COVID year, we were able to use to keep going, to maintain fitness, to look after the things that are important when you are not racing anymore, right? So it has been a wonderful blessing to have, for sure.
We thank you, McGill. I know it's been a busy summer for you. You've kept many people inspired. We had people swimming in the quarry yesterday morning. We're down to 4, still swimming. They cleared the photos through, and I know at some point you've got a vision of us cutting 25-meter piece into the ice, and we're going to do a January 1st 25-meter swim if everyone's crazy enough to try.
It's going to be fun. It's always fun.
We're going to let you go because we're now moving into one of the most important things that our club does on a regular basis. And that is to induct and to realize and recognize the importance of certain people in our club's history. Sean Bechtel came into my life through Tim Hortons. It was a call from his father. We met at a local Tim Hortons in Caledon. He told me about his son, who was a good swimmer, who was a great golfer, who rode his bike around. He was just very good at a lot of things, but he saw triathlon as a possibility for him. And Sean came into the club. He was one of the few athletes to ever go to a World Junior Championships, under 23 national medals, 70.3 medals. Went off, was our first Canadian at Ironman Mount Tremblant the year that he did it. But more important than just what Sean Bechtel has been as an athlete, it was the mentoring to people like Andrew Woger, to people like Lionel Sanders and Andrew York and Taylor Reed and our young junior women, and then eventually as a coach. I don't have children, but if I was able to adopt one or two and a almost 40-year-old man was prepared to be adopted, this guy would be on my list. Sean Bechtel, come on forward. We want to just chat to you about what you have done, about the impact of our club, of the Stuart Barkleys and the Judys and all of those people who've meant a lot to you living over at the training center in Bolton. You met your wife, Crystal, through sport. She's a world-class athlete, cyclist, triathlete, softball player many years ago, cross-country skier. And now your kids are into sport, and I see the joy you have when they're doing their bike riding or swimming. C3 would not be what we are without Sean Bechtel. I've said this many times, and it's such an honor to induct you into the C3 Hall of Fame. Your time, my friend, to just reflect on being a dad, of being an athlete, and some of the memories of Yorkie and all those guys being your training partner.
Okay, yeah. Where to start, I guess, is sort of the first thing. I kind of remember it the same way, Barry.
Like,
my dad sort of saying, "Hey, would you think about getting this triathlon thing?"
Yes.
Throughout the whole thing, my dad actually got connected to you through Lisa Bentley. Who my dad was part of a club that was sponsoring Lisa, and he sent a note out to her and said, "Who's the triathlon coach I should talk to in the Caledon area?" And she said, "You." So that's sort of how the whole thing sort of got started with that. And yeah, from there, I remember the first thing you made me do was a VO2 test. And so I guess I did well enough that I was able to keep going. And
well, you've been a world-class athletic capacity, cross-country ski, et cetera. But you had the talent, but more importantly, you had a determination that I didn't see in all kinds of athletes. I mean, if you said, where's your talent? You were 8. Where's your determination? You were 12. Would you kind of say that's probably similar?
Yeah. I think so. My ultimate goal as a kid was always to try to make the Olympics, and instead of going through, it was always that, and it was whatever sort of needed to be done was went towards that goal. And so to get into the triathlons, I was sort of the little pipsqueak in sort of grade 9, grade 10, the 4'9", 4'11", 110 pound. And by the time I started to grow, my wife, she's my wife now, but she wouldn't even date me in grade 9 because I was too small. So going from there, and then slowly growing up, and then getting sort of maturing sort of in the sport of triathlon was sort of how it went going, and obviously got picked a sport that I was good at.
Talk about how important Simon Whitfield was just to all Canadians. But I mean, you trained with him. He what was the name of your truck that you guys drove around your backfield? Goldfinger, Gold something?
Gold Member.
Gold Member. So, I mean, you had the chance for the gold medalist of the Olympic Games to hang at your house. I think at one point, Peter Robertson, world champion, Hamish Carter, Olympic champion from Athens, and Simon Whitfield had all either spent time at your house, had come for barbecues. I mean, you were exposed to the best in the world when you were 17, 18 years of age.
Yeah. It all sort of came up pretty quick. I remember I must have been my second year in triathlons doing nationals in Drummondville, and all of a sudden in a lead pack with Simon, who was just fresh off winning the gold medal in Sydney, and you're kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And then the next thing you know, he's at your house driving your truck around, and yeah, I think over the years we've had Simon, Bevan Doherty, Peter Robertson, Hamish Carter. They've all spent a night at my parents' place, I think. So yeah, just being able to get involved in that, like that has everything to do with you, Barry, just sort of introducing us and the sort of young Caledon Canadian kids to world-class talent. And sort of Taylor and Andrew have said earlier today that it's really easy to become complacent in just being good enough in your local area, but it's seeing the world-class talent and see how they do things that sort of helps produce you or helps sort of guide you in the way to become a world-class athlete yourself.
How impressed are you when you look at the Bob Nuckys and the Denise Rosses and the Jackie Smalicks and the Hans Portons, and, we can keep naming them down the list, that, at 40, at 50, at 60, at 70, they still have that drive. Like, is it, as a coach and as a lead athlete yourself, like, you must see some kind of inspiration that these guys who were showing up at your workouts, that were coming down to our camps in Florida and in Arizona, just that lifestyle and attitude.
Yeah, the more and more, the more I age, the more I look at those guys, and the more I'm envious of what they're able to do. Lifting up my kid hurts my back these days, so just trying to be more like them, have a good balance in the life in terms of time to exercise, time to spend with the family, time to and time for work too. It's a never-ending puzzle of trying to make things work, but obviously you can do it. And those older athletes and the very, very good older athletes are just a proof that it can be done. Much in the same way I was talking about those world-class athletes sort of showing how it can be done. Those older mentors in the group that sort of help C3 become what it is, and it is what it is. It's just sort of gives everybody that motivation to keep going and see that they can do more.
One story you've got to kind of tell me there's little bits of nuances that I don't have, but we're in Tucson, Arizona. I think Karsten Madsen, maybe Dave Sherritt, I think Nat, yourself. I get a call from the front desk and they say, you have to go to one of your condos. Somebody is shooting guns out of your condo. And I said, no, we're Canadians. These are the loveliest men you'll ever meet. They're 18, they're 19, they're 20. My guys are golden. And she said, no, I'm pretty sure it's your condo. I said, no. So, but I'll go check. And as my memory serves me, I push the door open and I see 4 of you guys sitting on a couch with some kind of a pellet gun shooting through the condo, knocking pop cans off the back porch. And I went, oh my God, these lovely men are mine. You got to finish off the story because I don't remember everyone that was there, but most of that details are accurate.
Yeah, no, I wish there was more to that story as to a rhyme or reason, but it was really just we were at Walmart getting groceries, and I'll throw Dave under the bus, but Dave said, hey, a gun would be fun. And so I don't really know how it came, but we ended up with a pellet gun in the room and realized that the back porch was just a little bit too short to really sort of have any kind of challenge. So we thought being able to open a door to a bedroom, the door to the patio outside, and hang stuff up in the cactuses on the other side of the thing would be a better target.
Perfect time.
I don't want this guy to hear that story though.
And you've got the legend here. I saw him race when he was not yet 3. He's the youngest man to ever do our Kids of Steel race. Talk about how proud you are of your kids and the importance that Crystal has had to your success when you look at, supporting you being down in Arizona and being off in training and racing camps, just how important she's been, and now the love you're putting back into these guys.
Yeah, Crystal and I, we did the math the other day, and Crystal and I have been together for over 20 years, which is kind of hard to think, but it's well over half my life, and majorly not as long as I've been a member of C3, but that's all right. Okay, Ross, No, you're fine. Ross, I mean it. I love them so much.
2 minutes, we'll be done, Ross. We promise, with your dad.
2 minutes?
2.
Now I can't change my pants.
Anyways, But no, it's Crystal's been great in the whole thing, and I think her being a professional athlete herself definitely helped sort of understand the lifestyle that we were living. And so she'd be off cycling, I'd be doing the triathlon stuff, and there were times when over the course of 2 years we wouldn't see each other for 20 months. So there was definitely sort of a lot of stuff to that too, and that's just elite sport, elite triathlon. And but now we've kind of settled down. We made the big move up to Collingwood, and that was obviously took lots of sort of what ifs and trust in each other that we would both be able to do it. But the kids are growing up. It's great. Ross is turning into quite a little hockey player, and Kara did her first skating lessons, but then they're starting downhill skiing and stuff this year as well. So it's nice to see it. Obviously, like the sports I know, I'd like them to be playing those sports, but whatever, it's really whatever they want to do, and whatever makes them happy.
For any of our viewers, if you're ever in Collingwood, you got to stop into your beautiful store. I'll make sure we send a link. But I know you've changed already the culture and the lifestyle of people up in Collingwood. You've done so much, Sean, for so many. Karen and I literally think of you as family. And Crystal, if I think back to those great days when, Mark DeCall is on the line right now from over in Grenada. Jason Gooding was there earlier from Trinidad, James Loring and Matt Faulkner out in Edmonton. Your pals have been all around the world calling in saying that they congratulate you, not just on being a world-class athlete, but more importantly for all of us, a world-class person who cared about all of us, whether it was Kids of Steel races, whether it was running festivals, whether it was showing up at 5:30 in the morning on all those swims to keep everybody moving. Your DNA on our club will never, ever go away. Your ugly mug is on the side of our big trailer down at the quarry. So when you have time, we want you to stop in and sign it. And I want to make sure that I get at least 20% dibs on your kids in the next 5 or 6 years as they start to move forward in whatever sports they pick.
Oh, well, thanks for everything. And it's an honor to be inducted into the C3 Hall of Fame. As I said, it's been a huge part of my life, and Barry, you have too, and everybody there, between Kim, Steve, Philip Adsets, all the big sponsors over the years. Obviously, my life wouldn't be the same without it, and I couldn't be happier with where everything is. And it's been great. And I see Lucy down in the bottom there, and so I know she's fairly new into the whole thing, but I think she's kind of hooked too, like so many of us were. And it's a great place to be, and 25 years is great. And
well, I'm going to be coming up for a cross-country ski lesson in about 8 weeks once life slows down. So hopefully we'll find a day in the middle of the week when the kids are in school and you can give an old man a very slow lesson on how to cross-country ski, whether we go nearby or halfway in between. So Sean Bechtel, we thank you so much. Your family's spectacular. And if I don't let you go, Ross might burn the house down here. So we don't want that to happen. We thank you for being a part of our 25-year history. And I know a lot of people are feeling the love for you tonight as they're tuning in.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Barry. And again, I'm honored. So
awesome. We're going to finish the night off with a new award that we have just started this year. And if you're new to our club, you certainly met this woman in the last 12 to 14 months. The Patricia Lopez Award for Passion for Life is a brand new award that we have just started. And I'm going to be tough to get through this. So Lucy, we'll get through this together. The first winner of this award is Lucy Gilmore, who has lost nearly 100 pounds in her life, who this spring, when most people would not have given back to others, she went into an old age home. She's a nurse, spent 3 weeks of having to be in quarantine, couldn't come out to training because she needed to give back to society when society needed her. I have recollections of you and Patricia and Bob Nucky doing those fast Sunday morning runs together. You got into the water, did your first half last year. You've made such a difference in your life and Walter's life, in your training teammates. And I know that Patricia is looking down on us and could not be more proud to have somebody like yourself as the first ever Patricia Lopez Passion for Life. So Lucy, speak to us about Patricia, about C3 and how we've had some impact on your life.
So I wasn't expecting this. I've had 2 glasses of wine. That's Walter's fault. But, C3's changed my life. The first few months, I didn't know Patricia that well, but every time we met, she talked to me. She encouraged me. We started to train together regularly. We text each other. We told each other life stories, our problems, our successes. We pushed each other. Every day that we were going to train, neither of us didn't train because we knew the other one was going. If Patricia wasn't going, it would have been so easy for me to not go. But she said, we're meeting at 5, right? Or she would say, I don't want to go. And I'd say, but we're meeting at 5, right? So if it was really cold, she didn't want to go. And if it was really hot, I didn't want to go. So, but we always both went. And there were times where there really wasn't a lot of other people, but Patricia and I, and that just made me really proud. But she encouraged me. That wasn't me. That was Patricia. And I think of her every day still, and how I'm here and my success is because of her and because of Lewis as well. And C3 as a whole, though, because this continues because of Patricia's legacy. This continues for me and all of C3. So Patricia's spirit lives on in C3 and her encouragement. And there are lots of Patricias in C3. And that our family continues, and we think of her every day, and I miss her every day. But certainly Patricia has moved me along, not just as an athlete, but as a friend and as a person. Her courage. And I think Barry, mostly, she was so genuine. She really meant everything she said. It wasn't for any personal gain. It wasn't for so people would like her. She was just a genuine person. And that's really why I miss her so much. And I continue for myself, but I also continue. She pushes me on. I can hear her chirping on my shoulder. Keep going. We're not giving up. Don't give up. I'll tell you, Barry, I'm going to tell you, I hate Tuesdays speed work, but Patricia's always going to keep going. Don't stop, keep going. Right. And so she's always there with me, but it's all of C3, but Patricia every day.
For those viewers, and we have people who obviously were members 20 years ago, 22 years ago, and have kind of not been connected. They may not know who Patricia Lopez is. She and her husband, Louis, 2 of our most important club members over the years. She, last year for her 50th birthday, amazingly did Ironman Italy, and then backed it up the next morning wearing a blue band on her shoulder to kind of honor my wife, who was going through chemo and cancer. Did Olympic distance triathlon the very next morning after Ironman Italy. We were all scheduled to go to Arizona this fall in do Ironman Arizona, and in August she was hit by a truck, for those who aren't aware, in her car, and passed away. And her spirit is with all of us, the young athletes who live with Louis and Patricia, the many of us who had great meals at their home, the kindness that she shared with all of us. And we really just thank you for being that first winner. I know that you'll wear this as a badge of courage.
I will.
As time goes on and Louis has time to reflect in the club, we have some projects that we would like to do to honor her going in 2021 and beyond. But we thank you so much for being that first winner, Lucy Gilmore. You are an important part of our club, and you will be forever the first. And there's a great picture. There's the award. Put her up here.
I love that picture.
And that picture really speaks to all of us. It was from Arizona. So we're going to move away and finish off the night. Thank you so much, Lucy. And as we come to the end of the evening, we wanted to finish with just the most important thing, and that is friendship. And as we take a look at the last part of our night, it's been 25 years of history. It's been friends, it's been coaches, it's been sponsors, it's been marriages, it's been challenges for all of us. Life is never a forward progression without some setbacks. And as a club, we have been with each other in many ways through many things. And as we take a look, as we finish off the night, I want to thank everyone, our 25 years of athletes, our sponsors, our current board of directors, our fantastic coaches, and as we reflect just how important life is, how fragile life is, and I know that when we push you each day to say, let's make something out of this next 24 hours, there is no guarantee that any of us will be here for an extended period of time. So take each day, be kind to each other, be safe, And on behalf of C3, our sponsors, I'm Barry Shepley saying how proud I am to be a part of a club that makes a difference in so many people's lives. Good night.